Hello. If you have stumbled upon this, it's exactly what the title suggests. I am going to be drinking a beer while talking about music. Why? I like music and I like a good beer. So why not? Today, I am going to be drinking a hazy IPA called Tripwire from Halo Brewery, which is literally just up the road over there. And I am going to be drinking it from my Hooters glass that I bought when I was first here in May 2025 for $10 before tax. Because it's funny. I have no other reason other than it's funny to have. So without further ado, I'll have you know I used to be a bartender. So I'm pretty good at this. Beautiful. Ooh. It's quite malty. It's not very hoppy. It's quite a smooth beer. Quite a smooth, hazy. I like that. It's quite good. The album I'm discussing today is the new Yard Act album, You're Going to Need a Little Music. Now, this is their third album, and it is punk? It's punk. It's like punk rock. It's punk rock. Now, I had a bit of a particular run with this album because I am currently in Toronto, and the northern part of the province is currently on fire. So the release of this album coincided with a huge wave of toxic, probably, really bad for you smoke, kind of just like wafting through the city. And as such, I've got a bit of a cough. So this is this album about climate change and how terrible the choices our leadership is making while currently dying. So it's perfect, really. The perfect setting. And it's not perfect, it's a very good album. This is a really good beer. I'm taking a quick liking to it. As I said before, the album is punk rock. And as such, it's got more distortion, a bit kind of a harsher, thicker, grimy, dirtier sound than their second, which was a lot more of a dance punk kind of focus. And as such, a lot of the political themes in the album, they come across really well. They come across really quite strong. And maybe, again, I am influenced by, having smoke in my lungs. But the climate change kind of allegories and thematics within the album, they're quite poignant. They hit pretty hard. The first track is kind of a perfect tone setter for the album. It's called Empty Pledges. And as the title suggests, it dictates the empty promises, broken remarks that politicians make when campaigning. I feel a lot of it's pointed towards Keir Starmer and the current Labour government in the UK. Oh yeah, it's a British band. I probably should have mentioned that. Because a lot of this empty pledges feels really easy to tie to Keir Starmer, former Prime Minister of the UK. They took him out back and shot him for being mediocre. In the context of Keir Starmer's 2024 campaign, he didn't run on much. It's like that John Oliver bit when he was talking about the 2024 election. Running on change, but having it in the smallest font you possibly can. The song follows a character kind of living through the nightmarish reality after all these empty pledges have been made. And the song kind of dictates August snow, which summer in the UK can only really mean the collapse of the jet stream. It talks about kind of cars going back and forth, trying to talk about your life, and the grim reality of it is so encompassing and constant that you have nothing new to say. And so it's this constant drumming, like a war march throughout the entirety of the track, that kind of slowly builds and builds and builds and builds and builds and builds, that leads to a really quite a climactic and really quite satisfying conclusion, where the kind of the argument, political argument, yeah, I'm gonna say that political argument of the album is laid bare, which is, we need to do something about it, and you can either join or turn this shit off, as the kids say. I think this is really well shown in the third track, Tall Tales, which uses that kind of terminology as a tongue-in-cheek way of referencing a tongue-in-cheek way of just directly calling out the horrid political culture in the States. It's not a subtle track, not at all. It's a track that focuses so heavily on just the disparity between the Republicans' ability to campaign on blue collar issues and not achieve anything, and Democrats' ability to, I don't even want to say try, just fail miserably at campaigning on blue collar issues and doing very mediocre kind of touch-ups on those issues. The track kind of directly references that particular instance as like a Robin Hood. It references running into like a band of Robin Hoods and his merry men, where they promptly swindle him for pints of ale, and he gets a stale loaf of bread and no money left over. There's also a more direct reference in the track to Trump and his cronies, especially Trump, where you have, oh god, this is good, where you have, sorry, there's a robin gathering worms. I guess he's listening to me as well. Fans. What was I saying? It makes a direct reference to Trump and his cronies, where it kind of points out the fact that Trump campaigned so directly on the revenge and the kind of fascist tendencies he was going to enact, that the American public didn't even need like lies or swindles to be taken in this horrible direction. You're hardly being dragged, kicking and screaming. I'm merely tugging at your sleeve. I mean, being on the outside of America, thank God, yeah, it's that. The track has a lot more depth to it too. It has a reference to the kind of lack of empathy that politics has kind of created in America. Apathy in the American political discourse, where I think it talks about a trucker's girl with her arm dislocated, and instead of helping her, I think he even says that he should help her, but he quite enjoys watching it swing like a pendulum from side to side. A pendulum with no pride. That's the direct quote. And so when you put all these pieces together, you get this kind of brilliant kind of just look at American political discourse. It's just what it is. There's like I said, there's no subtlety to it. There's no kind of, I don't want to say depth. It's just the track is obvious because the situation is obvious. It's. I really, really like it. The title track is a bit more revolutionary in terms of the thinking that it wants to portray. It kind of takes the format of like a road trip where the main characters they're in a car, they're going, and I think the metaphor is that in order to kind of get through the mundanity of the drive, or the tough times of a revolution is probably with the reference, you're going to need a little music. You're going to need a little music to soften the edges, to lighten the mood. And it's a catchy track. The chorus is so punchy. The build up to it is it's exciting, and it has this. It beats the drum. In terms of the messaging, it beats the drum. It really makes sure you know that you're gonna need some music, especially this one. But the twist of sorts, the twist in the song is the sacrifices that you're going to have to make, and it talks about leaving the main character's sister behind, where she's screaming. You see her in the windscreen, the back windscreen, kind of saying how she's never going to forgive you as you keep going along the road, and kind of seemingly in reference to like the idea that you're going to have to leave people behind, or you're going to have to make these kind of sacrifices, these very personal sacrifices, in order to make it to the end, to achieve the goal. I've been toying whether or not I like this particular take, because when you go into politics, there's a very clear kind of correlation between convincing someone of your point and talking to them, like merely talking to them. You can see this on all sides of the nonsensical political spectrum, where you have like talk show hosts that, like, I don't know, your Joe Rogans, your I don't know, they're all losers who talk about how unmanly it feels to be a man and how other people are able to relate to that. And then you have these campaigns like Mamdani's, where he just talked to regular people and they were like, oh yeah, you know what, you raise a very good point. Talking to people. So within the context of the song, leaving them behind in terms of like does it work? It's a catchy song at the very least. I'm not denying that. I wanted to quickly touch on a track called Cherophobe Rock. Merely for the fact that I think the keys, like a keyboard, the keys, the build up, especially at the end, and it's so good. It's so enthralling. It's so catchy. I really like the sound of that little. Listen to it. If you want to listen to at least one of the tracks, listen to that one just for that kind of catchy through line. Another track that I've really enjoyed the sound of, but I have struggled to kind of find a meaning that I enjoy the most, is the track Janie Said, which seems to be this. If there's anything Yardak does, they have like a track where the lead singer, whose name escapes me, kind of talks directly to the audience in this kind of way where the story is personal, the music is very simple with like a spoken word passage, and it's kind of like a poignant footnote. It's like the bit of evidence you have in like an essay. It feels very much like that. Like this is the revolutionary talks we want to do, and this is like the personal evidence kind of bit. Whereas in this context, it doesn't really feel like evidence. It kind of just feels like a personal track. This is a really nice beer. This is this is really good. It doesn't say anything on it. It just says the kind of hops it uses, but ooh. I'm getting like more citrusy kind of tangs. It's got that kind of the more you drink it, the hoppier it tastes. The malt has definitely died down, and the hops have really come through. What was I saying? Janie said. So Janie said is this kind of personal, poignant moment on the track, and the surface kind of interpretation of it is it's the lead singer talking with an old love about they're catching up with an old love. They're talking about their current situations. They're talking about their current whereabouts. The main character, Janie, seems to be battling with like a life-threatening illness, likely cancer. It's always cancer. It's a very personal, it's a very kind of intimate conversation between the lead singer and his old flame, as the lyrics suggest. There's a real sense of a inability to let go of the past from the lead singer in particular. Janie, I guess to an extent, it kind of hints that she might still have kind of substantial feelings for him, which is grain of salt. I'm struggling to figure this song out, and also it's always suspicious when the lead singer talks about how great he is. But the structure of the track kind of helps a lot in terms of inferring that the personal moments of the track are really hard to kind of come to terms with. The track has a very kind of flat, monotone kind of continuation about it. It like rolls on, and then all of a sudden the chorus happens, and it has this kind of like cathartic breakup of this monotony, where instead of like the same kind of beats repeating in like this kind of slow da-da-da, it's really hard to kind of come to terms. As another track, if you're going to listen to 2 tracks, listen to this one second, because it's quite nice. But the chorus of the track kind of has this burst. It has this moment of energy where the emotions flow, and the lyrics kind of insinuate of like letting go. Don't stall, don't hold back, just get on with it, just do it. If you're gonna break it off, break it off. If you're gonna say something, just say it. In the context of like a political theme that ties back to the opening track and that kind of thesis it kind of presents of do it. If you're gonna say something, do it. Which would be this. The track takes a more personal note on it. Again, my thoughts on this track are very skewed, and they keep jumping over. I think it's like this inability to let go of the past, and then I see it as like this inability to come to terms with anything at all. Just the music of the track is great. The emotions on the track come through very clear, at least to my eyes. Sorry, the camera stopped recording. As I was going to say, to my eyes, the story of the track is a bit harder to grasp. At least in a way that I actually am happy with. Because there's a lot of easy ways you can take it. And I don't think it's that, is my opinion. My opinion is also that this is a good beer. The last bit I want to touch on is the closing 2 tracks. I can see my camera battery blinking, so I need to hurry. The last 2 tracks. The tracks have a very... These 2 tracks have a very strange fourth wall feeling to them. So the album is 11 tracks long at about 41 minutes. But both these last 2, the penultimate and the ultimate, they have a very final feeling to them, but very different final feelings, separate of each other. There's Talkie Talkie People, which is a kind of piano-focused track. It has like a piano melody that gives it this optimism, this very optimistic feel. The track kind of talks about making friends, being kind to one another, this kind of harmony in the post-end times. If apocalyptic's the wrong word, because that infers the end of the world. But it's kind of a feel-good track. It presents a possible future. It creates a division, which is what I wanted to say, because the album feels like it branches at this point. You have Talkie Talkie People with this optimism and this very kind of nice feeling, and then you have Over the Barrel, which, while more pessimistic in sense, is also, it has optimism, which this kind of direct correlation between each other has this idea of no matter which ending, whether we end the best way possible, ideally, I would think so, or pessimistically, the people will still band together and rise up, because that's what people do. So Over the Barrel is more pessimistic when you take into account the actual definition of over the barrel. When I googled this, I found it means it's for someone to accept your terms only because they have to. The slight optimism in this track comes from, because you have to means you live to fight another day. So while it kind of infers this kind of bunkerness, this rich people have built bunkers, they've survived, you are at their mercy, the world is this horrid hellscape. There's this level of defiance throughout the track. The lyrics kind of constantly reference, they constantly reference defiance. I want you to break through, baby. I want you to break my spirit. I want you to take what's rightfully mine, so break me. Yeah, not really giving in the main kind of chorusy bit, is it? When everything you feel ain't nothing any other being ain't felt before, and everything you're seeing ain't nothing a machine won't fix. I mean, the machine part's a bit more grim, but this has happened before. There are references to our time period being the second Gilded Age, where rich people are at their richest. Second, as in we overcame the first. Tyrants have lived, tyrants have fallen. Sure, they're not taking the whole fucking environment with them. What the track, I guess, in my opinion, is trying to say is, you can be at your lowest. You can be over the barrel. You could be at a point where you have no choice but to do what they say in order to live. But you live to fight another day. And as the final note on the track says, you break through. I don't actually think that's what it was. I've forgotten. Breakthrough. You can break through. And so my closing remarks. This is a very good album. I thoroughly enjoyed it. The music is a bit hit or miss. There's a few kind of elements that could have been expanded upon better. But in terms of the politics of the album, in terms of like the messaging and the story it's trying to tell, it comes across really well. And I promise that's not because the sky is literally on fire here. It's just a good album. It's very reflective of the times, just like their last two. So, hey, if you haven't already, listen to Yard Act, because those funny British boys have a funny British voice, and that works really well in terms of the music they're doing. I'm gonna finish this beer and I'm gonna go home. It's a damn good beer. I really like that beer. I might get another one. Bye-bye.